So the problems we were trying to solve, based on the Barna survey, were fatherlessness, out of wedlock births, and divorce rates. If there's a secret sauce, it was that we had every facet of the community involved, from the churches to the government to the private sector. And we were all paying attention.
When it comes to relationships, we're often an autopilot. We don't realize the work that relationships take until we realize that they're not working.
And it was a big surprise. I had no idea that my family dynamic was, falling out. And it took a long time to get back from that because it was such a huge hit. We had the American dream, owned a house, and my comfortable career. First things first helps you through the court system. They help you through child support. James Woods helped me out quite a bit because he's very knowledgeable and he's been through it himself.
I suffered from substance abuse disorder when I got pregnant, and then when I was freshly postpartum was kind of when we got put in touch with all the community resources that we were in. It was us working through the courts to get custody back of Charlie. So
it was hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
How to do it. So they helped us out a lot.
We were able to do that within a year, and we maintained sobriety with the help of our family and the community. So yeah, it was a scary journey, but it was so worth it in the end.
It was a chaotic time in my life before we came to Chattanooga. My dad had just died, and we didn't have a place to stay. I felt like a group of people were actually rooting for me and not judging me.
Being a first responder, being a firefighter, and 24-hour shifts seemed to take their toll physically and mentally. So at times I would come home a little disconnected and zoning out, unable to be there and be present with my family. Sometimes there was quite the distance. Coming to First Things First and getting some of the tools that they've given us, being able to connect and slow down and be more intentional with our time that we have together.
We spend more time talking to each other and communicating with each other than we do one over here in this room, one over here on our phones doing our own thing. We like to hang out as a family in the living room most nights.
I have 4 children at home, but I actually have 9 with my stepchildren, and we're dealing with marriage and going through divorces, and we was having problems with really communicating with each other, talking to each other. Every time we was even in the room, it was an argument. I even went one time, maybe 3 months without seeing my children. That's like half crazy for a man when you're used to seeing your children. So I ended up losing my home, 4-bedroom home, and lost everything. I think the biggest takeaway was that I have rights.
We had someone come in and say, my family is never going to look like the perfect family. So am I still whole? Am I still welcome at First Things First? Can I still take these next steps and leave a legacy? That opened my eyes to something I had never thought of before, and it was also a little bit gut-wrenching to sit next to someone who really wanted their family to be whole, really wanted that reconciliation and that redemption, but realized that it was never going to look like the traditional family. It was never going to look like our logo.
The genesis of the organization and the mission from maybe 20 years ago very clearly was the right mission back then, but it's time for a refresh and looking at this current landscape, the dynamics in families, in Chattanooga. What's needed now might not be what was needed back then. When the data came in, so many of the relationships that we were helping and individuals that were sharing some data about themselves were making $100,000 or more. We're making really marginal improvements in their relationship. Somebody that's got a healthy relationship getting a little bit healthier. That's great. Everybody needs that as well. But there are some real deep improvements that we can make here and strengthening really hurting and vulnerable families right here in Chattanooga.
I'm lower income families might not be able to pay the heating bill, and they just have a bunch of blankets and are sleeping together in one room. And their biggest stressor isn't healthy relationships.
Walking alongside a family is really, I would say, getting dirty with them. If they're trying to get more time with their kid, that might mean being with them to call a clerk's office or to call a child support office to better help them understand maybe what they need to do, what their current situation is.
But as long as you focus on those little steps and that little forward movement and you celebrate along the way, you'll get there. You'll get there.
We had to take a different approach and a different direction. So that's when we decided to really take a look at what these vulnerable families needed and expand our services, offering our skill building classes and content wrapped in one-on-one communication and informing cohorts and coaching and case management to help them find jobs and housing. And that's what it looks like to walk step by step with people along their journey and meet them where they are. And I think with this rebrand, that's exactly what we're doing. We started internally and we're changing on the outside.
First Things First now is a mature machine, if you will. They think well about their particular societal problems and how they're dealing with it. I love the idea that they, as a mature organization, they've learned to go deep and not wide, and they're anxious for good results and not just scaling for the reason of scaling. And that speaks to my heart.
I feel like I have more control and understanding of my day-to-day mental patterns, and I'm able to be a better mom, be able to communicate with my child better to get him, where he needs to be, where he can have the future that he deserves.
Most of all, learn my feelings, learn what anxiety was, learn what depression was, learn what PTSD is. And how to deal with that. But not only how to deal with that, but how to share it. So once we started connecting with other firefighters in the RESET program, we're able to share the different therapies that we go through.
The air is lighter, there's no more walking on eggshells. It's much easier to communicate, and that changes everything.
It taught me that I'm not alone in this, that I have someone by my side that wants to help me.
I realized that he's a constant, and I want to be a constant to him. So that safety net was nice to realize that you have.
I just really wanted them to know I've been there from birth. I have always been there.
I'm not going to be that guy who's just tired all the time. If you want time with your dad, real time with your dad.
One thing that we know for sure is stronger families starts with stronger relationships. Every family doesn't start in the same place. And we need to meet them where they are and help them identify the next right steps for them to be as healthy as possible, to break those generational cycles and create positive change. We are for the family, and we had to change the way we were approaching that and what that looked like as an advocate.